Want a coffee? Just tap your card. Need a new phone? Click a button. Paying rent? A few swipes on your screen will do. Money is simple, immediate, and largely invisible. It powers modern life silently, a force we use daily, yet seldom contemplate. We often assume it has always existed, in some form. The familiar narrative suggests that people first bartered, grew weary of it, invented money, and then created coins. This tale appears logical, straightforward, and even essential. But imagine if it vanished entirely. What if, to buy that coffee, you had to persuade the barista to accept a bag of potatoes? What if she didn't want potatoes but needed a new pair of shoes? The truth about money is more intricate than you might expect. It's not just a simple account of bartering. The real story is much more complex, originating not with a trade, but with a promise. To understand its origins, we must travel over 5,000 years back to a time before cash, before coins, revealing a secret that alters everything we think we know about this powerful human invention. Let's begin with the narrative we learn in school, the foundation of economics. Once upon a time, before money, everyone bartered. Imagine a farmer who had extra wheat seeking an axe. He must find an axe maker who just happens to desire that wheat. This dilemma embodies barter's core issue, termed the double coincidence of wants by economists. For a trade to succeed, you must locate someone with what you desire, and they must want what you possess at the same time and in the correct quantity. Picture the absurdity of this concept on a grand scale. You're a talented potter with exceptional clay jugs, needing bread, a tunic, and medicine for your child. First, you venture to the baker. He has bread but desires none of your jugs. His storeroom is full. However, he mentions needing good leather to repair his sandals. Leaving empty-handed, you now search for a tanner. You find a tanner who happens to have extra leather, but she has no interest in your jugs. She points out her leaky roof and her urgent need for a roofer. The problem escalates. To secure your bread, you need to locate a roofer who wants leather, so you can give the tanner your jugs in exchange for leather to deliver to the baker. This creates a logistical nightmare, making what should be a simple task an elaborate quest. What about value? How many loaves of bread equate to one jug? 10? 20? What if your jugs are top quality, but the baker's bread is stale? And how can you make change? If a cow is worth 10,000 chickens, and you only need one for dinner, you can't just slice off a piece of your cow. The barter system, as the primary economic structure, proves highly inefficient. The narrative claims humanity had a collective epiphany and invented money to solve this. For decades, this theory was widely accepted. A neat story, barter was inefficient, money emerged as the solution. However, anthropologists and historians dispute this account. After extensive research, they haven't uncovered any evidence of societies primarily engaged in spot trading barter. The notion of a barter-to-money transition seems to be a myth. The truth, hidden within ancient Mesopotamian clay tablets, is far more fascinating. It uncovers a system based not on goods exchange, but on memory, obligation, and trust. To uncover money's true origin, we must rewind beyond the advent of coins and metals to the earliest civilizations in Mesopotamia, located between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Approximately 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, these were not extensive faceless cities, but small agricultural communities where everyone was familiar with one another. Here, the double coincidence of wants rarely posed a problem. Transactions were favors exchanged between neighbors, not anonymous trades. If your farmer neighbor needed one of your clay pots, you didn't haggle over its cost, you simply provided it. You didn't require an immediate exchange because trust existed. You knew that later, when your fence required repair or you needed assistance with the harvest, he would return the favor. This wasn't trade, it initiated a relationship. The entire village economy functioned on a complex network of informal IOUs, favors given and favors expected in return. Anthropologist David Graeber suggests that credit and debt predated money by thousands of years. The guiding principle wasn't, I'll give you 20 chickens for that cow, but you look in need of a cow. Take it, and remember I helped you. This system of social credit thrived in small villages, but as communities evolved into the world's first cities, like Uruk-and-Ur, complexity increased. A new power arose, essential for managing vast resources, the temple. The grand temples of ancient Sumer served not only for worship, but as significant administrative centers controlling land, employing thousands, and overseeing extensive workshops. Priests and temple overseers had to monitor everything: grain from farmers, provisions for workers, and artisan orders. Their solution represented one of humanity's most crucial innovations: a standardized accounting system. They developed an abstract unit of account to evaluate everything from a bushel of barley to a day's labor. This unit was known as the silver shekel. However, here's a vital detail: the shekel was not a coin. Throughout much of this era, silver rarely changed hands. The shekel signified a unit of weight, a certain amount of silver, equivalently valued as 1 bushel of barley. Temple bureaucrats utilized this abstract standard to document debts on clay tablets. When a farmer owed tribute to the temple, the amount was inscribed in shekels. When a weaver collected her ration, its value also appeared in shekels. These operations captured credit and debit transactions within a central ledger. The first urban economy effectively operated as a vast credit economy, with bureaucrats managing a virtual currency. Money did not originate as a tangible object, but as an abstract mechanism for tracking debt. This concept had significant social implications. While debts were calculated in silver, they could be settled using various items: barley, goats, or even labor. During poor harvests, farmers could accumulate substantial debt, leading to bondage, where they gave up children or land to settle debts. The resulting social strain compelled Mesopotamian rulers to issue periodic clean slate declarations, forgiving all agrarian debts to prevent societal collapse under obligations. This cycle of debt and forgiveness, governed through abstract accounting, was the ancient world's true economic driving force. Though Mesopotamian and Egyptian empires utilized advanced credit systems, a different reality emerged at their borders. The temple's clay tablets and social IOUs functioned well with neighbors or central authorities. But what transpired when trading with strangers, like a Phoenician merchant visiting a distant port? There was no shared ledger, no mutual trust, and no king enforcing agreements. Here, barter re-emerged, but with a twist, leading to humanity's first tangible solution: commodity money. Commodity money consists of objects with intrinsic value, goods that are useful, durable, and portable. Instead of locating someone who desires your specific item, you exchange it for a commodity nearly everyone will accept. Cultures worldwide adopted diverse items for this purpose. One of the earliest commodities used was livestock. In many cultures, cattle represented the ultimate wealth, a living bank account. They offered milk, leather, and meat while plowing fields. This relationship between livestock and currency persists in our language. Capital derives from the Latin caput, meaning head of cattle, and pecuniary from pecus, signifying cattle. However, cattle are not easily divided and can fall ill, potentially wiping out your savings. Another vital commodity was salt, often referred to as white gold in the ancient world due to its importance in food preservation. Its value was so esteemed that Roman soldiers received specific allowances to purchase it, called salarium. While the myth states they were directly paid in salt, this alleviation gave rise to our term, salary. If a soldier performed poorly, his peers reputedly remarked he wasn't worth his salt. Perhaps the most successful form of commodity money was the cowrie shell. These small white shells from the Maldives functioned as currency across Africa and Asia for centuries. They were durable, lightweight, uniform, and difficult to counterfeit. Limited natural supply helped them retain value. Throughout history, cowries were utilized for transactions, even tragically as a crucial currency in the slave trade. In fact, the currency of Ghana is still called cedi, derived from the Akan word for cowrie. Items like barley, livestock, salt, and shells facilitated trade with strangers. However, they remained cumbersome. Grain could rot, and transporting thousands of shells was impractical. The world craved something more convenient, enduring, and standardized. The answer lay deep within the earth, in a substance captivating humanity for ages: metal. Transitioning to metal was a logical progression. Metals like copper, silver, and gold were more durable, portable, and offered a better value-to-weight ratio. They could also be split into smaller portions and remelted. For millennia, chunks of metal, particularly silver, served as currency. In markets, individuals carried bits of silver, but each transaction was complicated. People weighed the metal and assessed purity, potentially cutting it to confirm quality. Both merchants had to trust each other's scales and standards. The world awaited a method to eliminate lingering doubt. This transformation didn't arise from a powerful empire, but from a small kingdom in present-day Turkey, Lydia. Around the 7th century BC, the Lydians thrived along vital trade routes. The Pactolus River flowed with electrum, a natural gold and silver alloy. They traded with lumps of this metal for years. However, circa 630 BC, under King Alyattes, the Lydians developed a brilliant idea. They standardized a lump of electrum by weight and stamped it. This single change revolutionized the world. The stamp, typically depicting a lion's head, assured the weight and purity of the metal. This conversion turned a basic metal lump into a coin. Suddenly, weighing and testing quality were unnecessary. Trust was inherently established. The state had become the guarantor and, in doing so, created the first coins. This represented not merely a technological improvement, but a mental leap. Value transformed from raw material to the trust associated with the authorizing authority. The Lydian stater, as this coin was named, was accepted at face value due to collective faith in the king's promise. This significantly accelerated trade, rendering it quicker and more dependable than ever before. It facilitated rapid soldier payments and consistent tax collections. King Alyattes' son, the notably affluent King Croesus, refined this system by issuing distinct coins of pure gold and silver. The Lydian innovation proved too powerful to remain localized. The concept spread rapidly to Greek city-states and subsequently to the Persian Empire, which adopted it for managing its extensive territories. Within centuries, those small stamped metal pieces from Lydia evolved into a universal commerce language. The progression from a Mesopotamian promise recorded on a clay tablet to a Lydian coin outlines a pivotal chapter in the history of money. However, the narrative didn't conclude there. Money functions as a social technology that continually evolves. As trade empires expanded, even coins grew too heavy to carry in large volumes. A solution arose in China during the Tang and Song dynasties. By the 10th and 11th centuries, merchants began entrusting their heavy coins to reliable agents, who issued paper receipts known as jiaozi. These promissory notes could be exchanged as if they were actual coins. Recognizing the efficiency, the Song dynasty government took control in the early 11th century, introducing the first official paper money. This was the first instance where the currency held no intrinsic value. Its worth solely depended on a government pledge to redeem it for metal upon request. This concept of representative money eventually reached Europe, propelling the growth of banking. Moving into the 20th century, the world embraced another significant leap into abstraction when nations relinquished the gold standard. Money morphed into fiat currency, valued solely based on government decree and our mutual belief. Currently, we find ourselves in yet another transformation. The vast majority of money exists solely as digital entries within computer systems. The tangible form has almost vanished, yet the fundamental principles of accounting and exchange persist. So what is money at its core? Our exploration has revealed it's not what we once believed. Money didn't merely evolve from the challenges of barter. It originated from something profoundly human, a promise. Initially, it was a remembrance system of obligation, a mechanism to monitor favors and debts binding the first societies. Its forms have shifted remarkably, from a unit of account inscribed on Sumerian clay to cowrie shells, lumps of Lydian electrum, pieces of Chinese paper, and finally, flickers on screens. Yet through it all, the essential concept has remained intact. Money isn't merely a physical object, it's a story. It's a shared belief, a mutual trust system enabling millions of strangers to collaborate. It is likely the most potent narrative humanity has ever conceived. As we approach a new era marked by cryptocurrencies and digital economies, the evolution of money is far from complete. Technology continues to transform, prompting us to reflect on the same questions our ancestors faced. As our currency becomes increasingly abstract, what new commitments are we entering into? And most importantly, whom do we trust to uphold them? If you appreciated this exploration into the surprising history of money, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell for more insightful stories that have shaped our world. Many more captivating histories await. Thank you for watching.